The secret of the Ankh lies not within its name. The people don't understand how the Ankh works. None of them. Its secret is based on the connection to God. It's based on the connection to the body, and it's based on its energy. The Ankh is just a possibility for you to give the flow of your sexual energy a different direction. That's how it works. You could use anything that has been designed and created for that purpose. It just seems to be that the Ankh is one part of it. It has been designed for this purpose, because once upon a time the people could see the energies and they understood. They could see what happened when you used the Ankh. And now it's just a piece of mystification, a symbol for a mystification of the feminine. And its true purpose is not revealed until now. It looks like a key and is a key. What is missing is the contact, the awareness, the clearness, the brightness of the mind. This is missing. Everything that the people are doing has a lower purpose. And the Ankh comes from a time when there was no lower purpose. There was a bound between the knowledge, the awareness, the intuition. It was anchored in their consciousness. Everything was so full of energy and full of spirit. That's why it's so powerful. The Ankh itself will not work if you don't know how to use it. The Ankh itself will never work if you just use it as what it is, something material. I don't know how to compare it, but how can I compare it in your sense? Your times are a riddle for me. I only can watch in disbelief. It seems to be that it's the time with the most opportunities. But, hell, from where do you have to come to go there? It seems to me it's a time with the most duality ever. It's a time where everything is possible, and yes, everything is possible. You could say it's Kundalini is in its full potential because everything is possible. It goes in every direction. That's the quality of these times. It goes everywhere. But I come from a time when everything was powerful. Everything had the sense of truth, the power, the brightness, the clearness. And this Ankh is just a symbol for that. But the ankh is useless. It's just a piece of wood in your case. If you didn't anchor this connection, it's more understanding this connection than understanding the ankh. To understand the ankh is stupid. It will give you nothing. What you see in Egypt, what you discovered, it's something that you relate to your understanding, something material. But you never reach to understand the truth that lies within this civilization. For you, they are old artifacts, once from a civilization that you reduce to a primitive, based on your life, on your understanding. Is it done on purpose? To vanish this powerful connection that once exists. The reason why they were so addressed, because they knew they were gods. It was a civilization of gods, ruled by gods for gods. Ja, ich kenne ja Taya Sama. Hey Gaide Tabukate Hamde Kaye Hande Kaya Hey Wonde Hey Kande Hey Bade Kande. If you want to understand, you have to understand deep. You have to understand wide. fear had no place. And when there's only consciousness, there's no fear. Because when you are God, the fear is gone. And the interest in the leaders and the rulers of Egypt, many came, many went, was to keep this conscious alive. This truth alive. Give me the Ankh. The Ankh was created to take all the human desire out of the sexual energy. To achieve purity. If you want a society that follows the consciousness of God, you have to lead them and to teach them. That's why they invent the Ankh. Where your society is not interested in giving you everything that you need to fulfill your purpose, in the times when the glory of the Egyptian were ruling, it was the opposite. The leaders of the kings, the queens, were seen as gods because they were gods.
Was it only in Egypt, in this specific area? Or at that time there were also advanced civilizations in other places? It was only in Egypt?
Not as. Not as. they only interested in was to keep the frequency high. And they used the Ankh because they knew the frequency has to stay high for the health, the wealth of the country. And they did everything in the consciousness of God. If you are so bound with God, and you want to keep this momentum going, you have to welcome every soul and lead them to their purpose, so they can fulfill and they can be part of the society, part of everything in its higher purpose. That's what they did in Egypt. They were very strict in that way. There was only one way. Keep the frequency high at all costs.
When did this consciousness fail? When was the fall of the consciousness? Was it in Atlantis? What is the connection between Atlantis and Egypt?
It doesn't have to do with the connection between these two civilizations. Every civilization is under the circumstances of the interest of God. And every civilization will fall. There is no civilization that is able to sustain and to maintain. And the same happened with Egypt, with every civilization. There are gates opening and closing. The same happened with Egypt. The same happened with every country, with every civilization. The gates are moving and they allow an easier access. But the leaders of Egypt were not human. They were not from this world. But also they have to admit they couldn't keep the standard high. And so they left.
Were they also under the influence of this physical realm in the way of their physical bodies, the way they grow old here on earth, because that is an aspect of being on earth? Or did they overcome this?
But it was a civilization of its own, very few. They came to this world, sent. Why do you have so many different types of humans on this earth? It's like a breathing.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's true.
To cross the blood between a god and a human. Was Jesus a human?
Well, his body was, but his soul, no. No.
How do you know that his body was human?
Well, because he was born here, and he was born from human.
How do you
parents.
know that he was born here?
Mm. Well, that's what they told us, no? His mother told us.
Sometimes the stories keeps himself alive.
Mm. And what he experienced here was a human experience, no?
The story can be implanted.
Mm. Implanted in what way?
In his consciousness.
Mm.
Behind all this is way more. When do you interfere? When do you let the wheel turning in its own base, in its own connection? What you will hear will not fit to any of your human perceptions. Because it will appear from a high consciousness, infinite wisdom and understanding of this world and of many other worlds. But none of this world is as interesting as this world.
There's no world that has similar qualities as this one.
It has qualities, they are similar, but they are more focused on one quality. And your world doesn't have this. How many qualities and facets does this world has? I would say infinite. It's a playground. A playground where everything is happening. nature represents the nature of humans. It is answering to every action that is happening on this earth. You are bound to this world, and the world is bound to you. Was I once a god? Yes. But even when you have been a god, it was a representation like Jesus on this earth. But it's play. It's a play like anything else. Playing a part as a god. In this case, it's playing a part on this earth as a god. But there's only one God. There's only one consciousness. I was a bridge, and I was closer to the civilians than the gods for a specific amount of time. But you had to make them feel fear. And when they're scared of power, you have to encourage them, because they're scared of their own power. But first you have to see where they are. How deep is their fear that they came with to this world? If you use this with weakness, it will be what it is. It's like painting a painting. And you have to paint something specific. If you have never seen a tree in your life, and somebody asks you to paint a tree, you will paint whatever you think it's a tree. But when you know and you feel the power, and somebody asks you to use this, the person will know. Mentally you will never understand anything, this or anything else. And fear is the biggest resistance of the mind. That will not make you understand everything. Because fear will reduce you to your limitations. You need leaders that lead you fearless, selfless. But there's always a danger that they will not understand who you really are. And that's happened in Egypt as well. Everything got mystified. And now Egypt is mysterious. And that's what I said happened. When the energy of this particular part of this world went down, they couldn't keep the consciousness high enough anymore. And they had to give up. And they went back where they came from. And the part of the humans that were mixing with gods, the part of the gods were not strong enough, so the humans went down. Even with this influence of the gods, they couldn't keep it up. So you will see how essential it is to work, to become fearless. To become fearless is understanding. A fearless person doesn't have any questions anymore. To understand the power of fear will make you understand the power of God. It's within your existence on this planet, on this earth, on this world, this playground, whatever we're going to call it. Fear is everything that you build up. Everything that makes you limited. Fear is not a high frequency. So this is the answer to your question. Fear is crawling in the blind. Fear is suffering. You can give fear many names, but fear is not God. Fear is doubting. Fear is your personal perception of this world. Fear is a construction. Fear is a burden.